Hello everyone, like, subscribe, and share talk, fanfiction audiobook for next part.
Chapter 11 singles out the strongest name. With the capabilities of the Roger Pirates, it is really not a simple matter for Marine to catch him on the sea. Or it should be said that people like Roger are like Luffy in the future. Every time at a critical moment, they don't know where the strange luck will come from to help him through the difficulties. The Battle of 8 Wall is a good example. And quat, damn it, Roger, the guys, they still run so fast, and quat, looking at the Oro Jackson, which was beyond the range of his cannonball, Garp put down the other cannonball in his right hand, and said flatly, and quat, then what? Sengoku, and quat, Garp turned to look at Sengoku at the bow of the adjacent warship, and quat, are you going to Wano Kuni, and quat, it's outside the jurisdiction of the government, and it's still an unknown force. Don't worry, and quat, Senku frowned and stopped and said, and quat, Beasts Pirates and Roger Pirates have suffered a lot of damage in this battle, so immediately return to the headquarters to make a strategy, and quat, Beasts Pirates is now only Kaido, Jin and Quinn. I'm afraid I won't be able to recover in a short period of time. Right, and quat, Pulusalanonu teased, and quat, can you solve them all in one go, and quat, don't underestimate that guy. The world thinks he is a lunatic, but if you really judge that guy with common sense, big problems will arise. And quat, Sengoku finally glanced at the stern of the Oro Jackson, which had become a sesame seed, and tucked his thick eyebrows twice. And quat, the Roger Pirates always give me a bad feeling, and quat. After turning around, Sengoku cast a side view towards. From there, the same dangerous breath came. And quat, Sengoku, Roger's group of guys should have been hurt badly now. I don't want to let this opportunity pass, and let me clean him up, and quat, Garp squeezed his knuckles and yelled loudly. As the person in Marine who most wanted to arrest Roger, he didn't plan to let him go at this good time. And quat, get out of me, and quat, Sengoku didn't bother to care about this bastard. Anyway, every time he was in a meeting, he was sleeping. Beasts Pirates and Roger Pirates went through a 10-day and 10-night battle. The end, only Captain Kaido of Beasts Pirates, and the two signatures of Jin and Kui, captured the homeland Wano Kuni of Kazuki Oden, the main crew member of the Roger Pirates. In addition to the main crew, the trainee pirates also suffered more than 80% of the casualties in the Roger Pirates battle. Overall, it seems that Beasts Pirates has suffered more, but they succeeded in capturing Wano Kuni. This earth-shattering battle, in the eyes of the world, ended in a tie. Later generations will call it Battle of Wano Kuni. At the same time, almost one person fought against Roger, the captain of the Roger Pirates, the deputy captain Rayleigh, the main combatant Jabba, and other masters who were invincible for 10 days and 10 nights and remained invincible. After this war, it was recognized by the world and won the strongest creature in the sea, land and air, and quat, if you are singled out, Kaido must be the strongest, and quat. This sentence, which was gradually circulated after the era of the Great Pirate, was also spread around the world at least 10 years in advance. It was even earlier than the song and quat, the Great Pirate Whitebeard terrible than a ghost, and quat, that children sang. Wano Kuni, Guri Beach. This is the entrance to Wano Kuni through the big waterfall, headed by Kaido, plus two monsters, Jin and Quinn, are sitting here. When Kaido woke up from his sleep, he found that Quinn's wound had been bandaged, headed by a woman in a kimono with a peculiar but not ugly appearance. Several women in kimono are taking care of the wounds that Jin was hit by bullet. It's just that from their expressions, I'm afraid these two guys took some radical measures when they let them come. And quat, brother Kaido, Wano Kuni is such a great place. I like it here. And quat. Seeing Kaido waking up from a deep sleep, Quinn grinned, and the stunner will help him deal with the wound next to him. She was more than 2 meters tall and hugged the beautiful black-haired woman in kimono. And quat, Mr. Quinn, please don't do that, and quat. The black-haired woman said with embarrassment. And quote, "What are you doing with a man in your arms? Idiot," and quote. Kaido hung the pure gold chain around his waist and glanced at Quinn contemptuously. Although his Adam's apple is not obvious, he subconsciously swallowed his saliva when he was held by Quinn just now, and he happened to be caught by Kaido. And quote, "Male," and quote. Quinn was so scared that he almost rolled from the beach into the sea, and looked at the kimono girl beside him in disbelief. And quote, "Haha, but I am a woman in my heart tilde and quote." The and quote, girl and quote, named Xiaoju, chuckled shyly. If before knowing his gender, Quinn would have coveted, but now the only thing that is pouring out of his heart is a feeling of chills. And quote, "You, stay away from me," and quote. Quinn only felt goosebumps all over, and muttered inwardly, "A man dressed up like this, sick," and quote. "May I ask the three strong men from outside the sea, why did they visit Wano Kuni?" and quote. The head of the woman wearing a kimono with a white crane leaned forward and said, and quote, "Little girl Crane runs a tea house in Julipoluo town," and quote, "Crane, what about the same name as the Marine Chief of Staff?" and quote. After the wound had been treated, Jin twisted his arm twice, surprised by the other's name. And quote, "Who is the current master of Wano Kuni?" and quote. Kaido twisted his neck and asked sideways. And quote, "Master, should this lord be talking about Wano Kuni's supreme ruler? In Wano Kuni it is called General," and quote. Crane said, and quote, "The current general Wano Kuni is Kazuki Sukiyaki Saima," and quote, "Kazuki? Who is he from Kazuki Oden?" and quote. Quinn interjected curiously, and quote, "Suki Saima is the father of Oden Saima," and quote. Crane cried, and quote, Oh, this is a coincidence. Brother Kaido, and quote. Quinn smiled strangely, and quote, "I just finished playing the small one, this time I changed it to the old one," and quote, "It's so noisy." Quinn, and quote. Chapter 12, The Despised Samurai. As soon as Jin said this, he, Xiaoju and others' complexions changed, and quote. "No, Jin, do one thing for me first," and quote. However, what Ling Jin and Quinn didn't expect was that they had already repelled the most troublesome and powerful enemy of the Roger pirates. Kaido stopped at this moment when he was picking the fruits of victory. "Although I heard that there is a force called and quote, samurai and quote, in Wano Kuni, what can't be done by the captain of his own, and quote. Please tell me, boss Kaido, and quote." But Jin and the others did not dare to complain, and immediately responded, and quote, "You go to the Fishmen Island and bring my words to Neptune," and quote. After listening to Kaido's instructions, Jin couldn't help but brighten his eyes, and exclaimed, and quote, "As expected, Kaido boss, I have already thought of this step," and quote, "Don't flatter, hurry up and get down to business," and quote. Kaido pinned his mace to his waist, and quote, "Take Wano Kuni down while Marine is now focusing on the Roger pirates," and quote, "Yes," and quote. Jin replied excitedly, transforming into a toothless pterosaur with a blazing flame behind him, and flew in the opposite direction to Wano Kuni. At this moment, after listening to the conversation between Kaido and the three of them, Suru and the other women were so scared that they couldn't speak. Wano Kuni will face a catastrophe, and quote. It's okay to tell Kazuki Oden, provided they can get over, and quote. Kaido said abruptly, like a bombing thunder in cranes. Vigoryu raised her head and looked at Kaido in disbelief just in time. Xiaoju raised her head and looked at Kaido in disbelief, just in time to meet the opponent's eyes full of teasing and contempt. And quote. Aren't you his subordinates, and quote. Kaido asked with a grin. It has been more than 30 years and nearly 40 years since I have traveled into this world, and Kaido can only remember a rough outline of the original plot. However, Kaido still remembers the name of the wife of Kinemon Gate under Kazuki Oden and the same name as Marine Chief of Staff Tsuru. From this he judged that it was not a coincidence that Jin and the others had captured this group of people. On the Contrary, they deliberately approached themselves and others in this way. Xiaoju and the others were completely stunned. That's right, when the Roger pirates retreated, Kaido and the three were in a state of self-cultivation. Kazuki Oden informed his wife through a phone bug that Kazuki Shi and the 9 heroes of the Red Sheath must guard against the 3 Kaido who landed on the island. But also because of the current combat power in Wano Kuni. Even if Kaido has lost more than 90% of his subordinates, with only 3 remaining, it is definitely not Wano Kuni's ability to deal with it. After Roger's pirate group's vitality returns, they will act again. Therefore, Kazuki Oden's wife Kazuki Shi chose to send someone to approach the Kaido 3 proactively after learning about it, try to use this to investigate their next move. However, now I don't know why, I was seen through by the other party. Xiaoju pursed her lips and stepped back, protecting Suru and the others behind her, and at the same time took out a big sword hidden under the kimono, staring at Kaido and Quinn. And Quat, hey. Looking at Xiaoju's expression of death, Kaido just raised his eyebrows in disdain, and then turned his head and walked towards Wano Kuni. This move made not only Xiaoju and others but Quinn dumbfounded. Dragging his fat body to follow, Quinn wondered, and Quat, brother Kaido, aren't these women from Kazuki Oden? No matter, and Quat, what can they do, and Quat? Kaido made an understatement, explaining the reason for what he did. Xiaoju's face was also pale for a while, one of the 9 heroines. They didn't put their samurai in their eyes at all. The capital of Wano Kuni, the capital of flowers, only a few hours before the official action of the Kaido trio. The flower capital in the center of Wano Kuni was plunged into chaos. General's mansion. Fu Lu Shou, the head of the imperial court, quickly rushed to the current general, Kazuki Oden's father, Kazuki Sukiyaki, and reported with a cold sweat on his face, and Quat, Sukiyaki-sama. The rabbit bowl quarry is now occupied by Kaido, and Quat. The Roger pirates are defeated, and Quat, Kazuki Sukiyaki couldn't believe it. Many Wano Kuni names below were also caught in a panic and riot. When beasts pirates started Wano Kuni half a month ago, his son Kazuki Oden volleyed under Roger's leadership to fight beasts pirates. I thought that the strongest pirate group after Rock's pirate came to help, and it would surely be able to repel beasts pirates and keep Wano Kuni safe. But who could have imagined that after the ups and downs of the war, it was the Roger pirates who retreated. And right now, in just a few hours, the quarry, which is most important source of income, has been occupied by when the opponent has only 2 people opponent, even when the opponent has only 2 people. Among the ministers, a black-bearded man with a huge face like Ivankov was sinister, lowered his head and said, and Quat, even the Roger pirates have been repelled. Kaido is so powerful that the beasts are so powerful. It seems that my chance is coming. NS, and Quat, although still very young. The characteristics are quite obvious. This person is the culprit in the original work who cooperated with Kaido to kill Kazuki Oden, Kurazumi Orochi. At this time, he was just a minister under Kazuki Sukiyaki. He was dissatisfied with the Kazuki family's monopoly of Wano Kuni's power. After hearing about the powerful strength displayed by beasts pirates, suddenly felt that my own opportunity had come. Chapter 13 The Desperate Kazuki Oden. And Quat, Sukiyaki-sama, you should contact Oden again now, and through the collaboration with the Roger pirates, plus our samurai group in Wano Kuni, there is no need to fear the monster Kaido. And Quat, a man with explosive head and thick lips, stood up and said, white dance name, Shimotsuki Yashui, known as the name of Hakumai, who is the last to succeed Kazuki Sukiyaki, except for Kazuki Oden. And Quat, cooperate with Roger pirates. And Quat, Kazuki Sukiyaki was in trouble for a while. To be honest, his father-son relationship with Kazuki Oden was rather bad. After all, Wano Kuni's national policy for hundreds of years is to lock the country, and Kazuki Oden is Ishin who wants to, and Quat found the country. And Quat, if it weren't for the monster Kaido, Kazuki Sukiyaki really didn't want to get involved with the same lawless evil party like the Roger pirates. And quote, Sukiyaki Saima, you can't hesitate. Other than this, there is no other way to deal with the monster Kaido, and quote, Shimatsuki Yasui politely persuades. After hesitating for a few minutes, Kazuki Sukiyaki finally ordered, and quote, Yasui, you lead the samurai group to surround the rabbit bowl. Do your best not to let Kaido break through there. I'll contact that kid. Oden, and quote, yes, and quote. Many ministers present bowed their heads and responded in unison. Only when Kurazumi Orochi looked down, secretly showed a smirk. Like Blackbeard's smile. When he saw dark fruit, the helmsman controlled the rudder and kept dodge, and the shells continued to explode one after another around the Oro Jackson. Buggy embraced his head with both hands, crying in tears, and said, and quote, how many days is this? Why is that guy Garp chasing after him? And quote. At this time, it was Garp who kept throwing artillery shells toward the Roger pirates. From the rear, 4 full days after Wano Kuni left, many Marines led by Sengoku have returned to Marin. Only Garp took Kuzan and waited for his own soldiers, biting the tail of Roger pirates like a mad dog, and quote, balu tilde and quote. The phone worm's voice suddenly rang. Kazuki Oden pulled into the kimono and took out the phone worm to connect. Because Yan Mo had broken, Oden at this time only wore a handful of sky feathers around his waist. And quote, Oden, and quote. As soon as the familiar voice came from the phone bug, Kazuki Oden raised an eyebrow, and quote, old man, and quote, what are you looking for? I'm sorry I haven't died yet, and quote, Kazuki Oden glanced. He and his father Kazuki Sukiyaki have been on the verge of severing the relationship between father and son because of the conflict of ideas. Naturally, there will be no good attitude. And quote, the rabbit bowl has been captured. I don't need to say who did it. You should know it, right? And quote. The phone worm imitated Kazuki's Sukiyaki expression and said, all of a sudden, not only Kazuki Oden, but also the many crew members of the Roger pirates who heard this sentence, their faces changed. They have all been to Wano Kuni, and they also know the importance of the rabbit bowl and quote, the origin of sea stone all over the world comes from Wano Kuni, and the place where the sea stone is mined in Wano Kuni is the rabbit bowl. Controlling this is equivalent to controlling the entire financial lifeline of Wano Kuni. And Kaido, in all likelihood, because of this, he gave up on Beehive Island, which was once the base of Rock's pirate, and instead aimed at Wano Kuni. And quote, although I really don't want to beg you, this time it's not for me, but for Wano Kuni as a whole, and quote, Kazuki Sukiyaki said solemnly, and quote, if Kaido can be repelled this time, the general position will be given to you, and quote, directly throwing out the position of the supreme ruler of Wano Kuni. I have to say that Kazuki Sukiyaki is a waste this time. It just doesn't matter if the object is his own son. And quote, I am not interested in the position of the general at all, even if you don't call me. I will fight, and quote. After a few seconds of silence, Kazuki Oden said flatly, and quote, hey, then wait for your good news, and quote. After hearing Kazuki Oden's answer like this, Kazuki Sukiyaki smiled, satisfied, and hung up the phone. However, Kazuki Oden is not as happy as his father. On the contrary, his face became more and more solemn, holding the handle of Tianyu Yuzhan's knife, and looking in the direction of the captain's room. At this moment, Roger, as the captain, is not on the deck. On the second day of the battle with Kaido, Roger fell into a deep sleep due to illness. With a needle and even a ventilator inserted all over his body, he looks better than Whitebeard in his later years in the originate Boo. The ship Dr. Crocus obviously S.A. Kazuki Oden's scruples, and said, nonchalantly, and quote, Roger's current physical condition can no longer withstand that kind of battle, and quote. Not to mention that Garp is still clinging to it. Roger's physical condition alone can no longer withstand the previous level of battle. And quote, I know. Please hide. This from Captain Roger, and quote, Kazuki Oden almost broke the handle of his own sky feather. The most Important thing at the moment is Rahudel. This is not only his Kazuki Oden's ideal, but also the purpose of the Roger Pirates. Kazuki Oden chose to complete Roger's pirate group's ideal of sailing the Grand Line for a week first, and concealed it from Roger. If you don't do much, consider Roger's desperate character. Absolutely aside, I ran to Wano Kuni back, trying to fight Kaido desperately. Chapter 14 Cut Who Whitebeard, Flowers over 5,000 plus more. The conversation between Kazuki Sukiyaki and Kazuki Oden was also heard by ministers including Shimotsuki Yasui. Kazuki Oden's answer made everyone happy. There is hope. I didn't notice at all. Kazuki Oden didn't really promise them to lead the Roger Pirates to come for reinforcements. No one noticed that after hearing Kazuki's Sukiyaki sentence, Kurazumi passed the position of General Wano Kuni to Kazuki Oden. After he repelled Kaido, his face became even darker. And quote, "It seems that I have to take action. The Kazuki family has ruled Wano Kuni for so long. Isn't it enough?" And quote. After leaving their general's palace, Kurazumi Orochi sneered secretly in his heart. At the same time, Wano Kuni rabbit bowl quarry. And quote, "The world's sea stone is abundantly produced from here. Brother Kaido. When we take full control of this place, we will post it." And quote. Looking at the surrounding quarries that were not deeply mined, Quinn was so excited that he danced like a 2000 gin fat man. And quote. "Do it for me. Brother Kaido will be your new master in the future. Keep your eyes clean." And quote. Quinn shouted at the workers who had been defeated by him a few hours ago and detained in the quarry for mining. Bang, bang, bang. The workers did not dare to have any complaints, and H waved the hoe in their hands to dig down the ore bit by UT. If you look closely, you will find that the eyes of these workers are not as desperate as they will be 20 years later. There was only endless anger and depression burning in his pupils. They are waiting for the counterattack from the outside Kazuki family, and on the other side, through the extremely fast flight in the form of toothless pterosaurs. It takes half a month for ordinary warships to reach the route from Wano Kuni to the Fishmen Island. Jin had only been flying for 2 days before he arrived. It's just that because there are no subordinates around him now, before he is preparing to enter the Fishmen Island, he will fight a group of pirates who have just entered the New World on Mysteria Island, one of the 3 starting islands of the New World. It's half dead. However, they were forced to set sail and take their own recoating and return to the Fishmen Island, facing one of the 2 major signs that have just become the world's most powerful creatures. This group of playhouse pirates who just came out of and quote, Paradise and quote, felt the first round of beatings from New World. More than half of the crew drove the recoated boat with a broken arm and leg, and returned to the Fishmen Island with Jin, like a fantasy fairyland. The Fishmen Island has not yet been invaded and harassed by a large number of pirates because the era of big pirates has not yet started. The flag of Whitebeard, or Big Mom, has not yet flown on the Fishmen Island. This is what Kaido is aiming for. At this moment, a tiger shark breeder in military uniform, leading an army under him, just arrived. The leader is the future 7 warlords of the sea Jinbei. Now he is just 20 years old, and he is the commander of the Royal Army under Neptune. Now he is just 20 years old, and he is the commander of the Royal Army under Neptune. When Jin passed the official entrance of the Fishmen Island, he asked the guards at the entrance to notify Neptune and asked him to send someone to greet him, claiming that he has important matters to negotiate with Neptune on behalf of Captain Kaido. The opponent was the lunatic pirate group recognized in the world that had previously snatched food from the Roger pirate group. Even Neptune, who had a pretty good relationship with Whitebeard, didn't dare to offend him, and quickly dispatched his most capable subordinate, Jinbei, to greet him. And quote, "Mr. Jin, please come with me." And quote, Jinbei, who is still very young now, frowned, and was also deterred by the astonishing aura emanating from the opponent. Is this the strong one who can fight the Roger pirates? Soon, the royal residence was Dragon Palace City. The figure is several times larger than Jin, But the appearance of Neptune has not changed much. Compared to the original period, with a pregnant belly full of moon, Huang Mao said, and quote, "The Lord Cinder of Beasts Pirates has visited the Fishmen Island for thousands of miles. I don't know why, and quote. As a member of the world government, the Fishmen Island is actually in an awkward position. Although they are members of the government, because 6 unique geographical location, once an accident occurs, ME.ALL. Therefore, in the face of big pirates like Jin, Neptune adopts an attitude of not being guilty, and not trying his best to not be guilty. And quote, King Neptune, I am here on behalf of our captain Kaido to negotiate with you a major matter concerning the future of the Fishmen Island, and quote. As Jin said, he took a phone worm out of his black leather coat, and placed it on Jin's palm, as small as a tick, and quote, Balu 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 click it, and quote. After Jin dialed the number, the phone worm closed his eyes and called for more than 10 seconds, then suddenly opened his eyes, and his expression instantly became solemn and solemn. And quote, Jin has he arrived, and quote. Even if I heard this voice through the phone bug, Neptune, Jinbei, and Princess Otoheim standing on the other side could not help dripping cold sweat on their faces. The person on the phone bug? Is it Beasts, Kaido? Asterisk. Chapter 15 Future Sea Disasters, 1000 evaluation votes plus more, and quote. Yes, and quote. The whole body was covered by a leather cover, only a pair of eyes were exposed, and Jin looked down at the phone bug, and quote. Boss Kaido, Neptune and others are right in front of me now, and quote. With that said, Jin turned the direction of the phone worm in his hand to the direction of Neptune and the others, and pressed the hands-free button on the volute of the phone worm, and quote. And quote. The phone worm imitated Kaido's expression and raised his brows. Seeing this action, Neptune immediately said, and quote. It is a pity that Your Excellency Kaido could not come to the Fishmen Island in person. Otherwise we will definitely offer the highest level of courtesy. Reception, and quote, guru 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 hiccup, and quote. A swallowing sound came from the phone worm. Not to mention Kaido, even these murlocs could instantly hear that the other party was drinking. After a burp, the phone worm showed a somewhat drunken face like Kaido, and said, and quote. Just let me avoid polite talk. I'm tired of listening to this kind of nonsense, and quote. Okay, and quote. Neptune said cautiously, and quote. I don't know what Kaido's envoy is coming from afar this time, and quote. Hehehehe, and quote. Kaido laughed, and everyone besides Jin was shuddered with laughter, for fear that his next sentence would be astonishing and make some shocking demands. And quote, Nipton, you murlocs have always wanted to live on land, but even you are a member of the government, but in the eyes of download AP of 5 elders, you are just a lowly race. That has Collusio pirates celestial dragons you as claves, don't they? And quote, for this reason. What did your wife do with Tenten to write a letter together? Has that thing come to fruition? Ha 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 ha, and quote. Every word of Kaido is like a knife inserted into the heart of every murloc present. But at the same time, they dare not refute it. What Kaido said is that the facts are correct. This is one reason, and more importantly, is the fear of local strength. And Princess Otoheim, who was standing next to Neptune, was even more sad, and her eyes gradually moistened. And quote, with the power of Your Excellency Kaido, you must not have sent someone to taunt us, right, and quote. Neptune frowned. Although he could be insulted, he couldn't help feeling angry. When Kaido despised his wife's lifelong dream. And quote, Your Majesty, please calm down, and quote. Several ministers were so frightened that they sweated profusely, and quickly whispered. Neptune was also suddenly taken aback, realizing that he was out of shape, coughing a few times, and quickly calmed himself down, and quote. Ahem, it's rude, Lord Kaido, and quote, guru hiccup. Not that nervous, I'm not the wife of Linlin, I don't have any belly fat, and quote. After drinking a few more sips, Kaido happily said, and quote. After all, in the future, We have to establish a long-term relationship, and quat. What do you mean, and quat? Kaido is naturally best if it is not angry. But his words have plunged Neptune and the others into a new round of panic. If Kaido's trip is only for money, it is the best way to do it. What they are most worried about is that the other part V deal with the Fishmen Island like Wano Kuni. And quat, Wano Kuni is a treasure land. Not only is it the producer of sea stones all over the world, but the entrance and exit are only a 1,000-meter high waterfall near the sea. And quat, Kaido smiled loudly and said, and quat, if there is a Murloc who can move freely in the sea to guard this only entrance, I think it will be the world government. I am afraid that it can't be easily attacked, right? And quat. The faces of Neptune and others were startled, and they gradually guessed what Kaido meant. And quat. Don't you want to live on land? And quat. Kaido asked again. And quat. Don't think this is a great opportunity. And quat. Speaking of which, Kaido's meaning is already obvious. Part of the land in Wano Kuni was given to the Murlocs to live in, but the Murlocs had to become Kaido's combat power. Kaido's proposal was so impactful that the thoughts of many Murlocs in the audience fell into a sluggish state, and they didn't know how to answer. However, Kaido has a more important purpose that has not been stated. One of the three major weapons of the future, Poseidon, which is still in the belly of Princess Otoheim, not even formed in her belly. Mermaid Princess Shirahoshi. That is the most important purpose of Kaido. He has designated Shirahoshi as one of the big signs of Beast's pirates in the future. Chapter 16 The Fishmen Island. After several minutes, Neptune and others gradually eased from their shock in Kaido's words. After a while, Neptune opened his mouth several times, but he stopped talking. It wasn't until Kaido became impatient that Neptune said, and quat, this, Your Excellency. Kaido should know that the Fishmen Island is a member of the world government, right? And quat. As soon as he said this, Kaido seemed to have heard some big joke, and laughed. And quat, ha ha ha. Join the country. Every year, when the pirates make trouble, Marine comes to rescue you. I see. On the contrary, Marie-Joie has more and more Murloc slaves, and quat. The most sensitive position was stabbed. Once again. As a member of the world government, the Fishmen Island pays heavenly gold to the government every year, but when the pirates traveling to and from New World make trouble, regardless of whether the government wants to care about them or not, Marine can't be there in the first time. This led to the opening of the Great Pirate Age. Neptune had to rely on the power of Whitebeard. In this regard, the world government also closed one eye. After all, if you don't need to send soldiers to protect you, you can still collect an extra amount of heavenly gold every year. However, Kaido's proposal is not as simple as borrowing a banner from the original book. That is asking the entire Murlocs to become his subordinates. In this way, the government must remove the Fishmen Island from the ranks of government franchise countries. In the future, Jinbei will rarely return to the Fishmen Island to avoid suspicion when he has a good relationship with the Whitebeard pirates. And quat. It's really scary, Murlocs. I have given you such a good opportunity. And quat. Kaido was really impatient with Neptune's hesitation. If Neptune rejects this proposal, Kaido can only be deterred by force. After all, he is not a bad guy like Whitebeard. He lent the flag to the Fishmen Island for free. And quat. Please wait, Master Kaido. And quat. At the critical moment, the silent Princess Otoheim, who had been standing beside Neptune, shouted, and quat. And quat. Hearing Princess Otoheim's voice, Kaido's expression in the rabbit bowl was slightly stagnant. And quat. This matter is very important. Please give us some time to discuss it. And quat. Princess Otoheim shouted. Give you 1 week. And quat. After a short silence, Kaido finally gave his bottom line conditions. Click it. The phone worm called and closed his eyes, indicating that the other party had hung up the call. And quat. In this case, I will stay here for a while. And quat. Jin put away the phone worm. And quat. Jinbei, take the man with Lord Jin down to rest. And quat. Neptune turned his head to Jinbei. And quote, I see, your majesty, and quote, Jinbei walked to Jin, and quote, please follow me, and quote, Jin didn't say much, followed behind him, and left Dragon Palace. And the next moment after Jin left, the interior of Dragon Palace City was suddenly caught in a heated discussion. And quote, how to do, and quote, the right minister of the seahorse breeders swallowed his saliva and said with cold sweat on his face, and quote, if Kaido is promised, the world government will definitely remove us from the ranks of the franchise countries. Will they send Admiral to attack us? And quote, we, the Fishmen Island, pay a huge amount of heavenly gold every year, but every time we are harassed by pirates, when does Marine come to rescue us? And quote, Minister Zuo, a catfish breeder, was obviously dissatisfied with the government's behavior of taking money and doing nothing. After hesitating for a while, he gritted his teeth and said, and quote, perhaps Kaido is a better choice, and quote, are you crazy? Minister Zuo, and quote, Minister Wright was shocked, and quote, what kind of person is Kaido? You have never heard of it, right? And quote, do you want to refuse? And quote, Minister Zuo gave him a sideways glance, and quote, that would be more serious, and quote. For a while, the atmosphere of the palace fell into dead silence again. If you agree to one party, you are bound to offend the other party. And beasts, pirates and world government. No matter which one, the Fishmen Island cannot afford to offend. And quote, your majesty, and quote. At this moment, a Murloc guard hurried into the palace, bowed his head and said, and quote, Master Tiger is back, and begged to meet you, and quote, Tiger, and quote. Neptune was taken aback, and then quickly beckoned, and quote, quick, let him in. It just so happens that you also need to consult his opinion on this matter, and quote, yes, and quote. When Jinbei arranged Jin to stay temporarily in the Ma Yufoli Shanzhuang and return to the Palace of Dragon. Palace. When he saw the familiar figure, he was immediately overjoyed, walked quickly into the palace, and shouted, and quote, Brother Tai, you are back, and quote, oh, Jinbei, you are now the captain of the army, and quote. Tiger smiled and patted Jinbei on the shoulder, then turned his face. Solemnly said, and quote, I've heard about Kaido, and quote. Hearing this, the smile on Jinbei's face also converged, and solemnly said, and quote. Then Big Brother Tai, what do you think? Is, and quote, your majesty, I think this is a try, and quote. Tiger said astonishing, but before others could refute, he said again, and quote, I also feel that paying heavenly gold to the government every year, but not getting the corresponding protection, is like a bottomless pit, and there will never be a solution. Since in this way, it is better to put the chips on Kaido, and quote. What should the world government do? If they do this, they will definitely treat us as Kaido's subordinates. If they send Admiral to crusade, and quote. The right minister was anxious, and quote. The Fishmen Island is located in the deep sea 10,000 meters from the land. Even Admiral cannot easily reach here, and quote. Tiger fixed his eyes and said, and quote. If we donate the heavenly gold that we turn over to the government every year to Kaido, I think he will make a protection that is more beneficial to us than the government, and quote.